Hi, welcome to the fourth video, which is displaying posts. So just to give you a reminder of what we have so far, is we have a input which where they can write their text, and then a post button that will that creates the post resource. And what we have to do in this video is we're gonna have to display our content. So I already have it here. I already published it. So this is the first post that we created last video. As you can see, we can now um, view it. So let's create a second post. This is a second post. Click post, accept. Now for now we have to refresh to see the new post, but in a later video we'll take care of that. Accept. And now we see our two posts. Okay, so how do we do this? All right, it's not too hard. Uh, Now, as you may remember, we have one page which is called Home. Here we have the handle post that we talked about last video, where we're able to publish our post. And let me show you the new stuff that we have. So we have this use effect, which on so basically when it has this unique app ID, it'll go and fetch posts. And all these posts will be injected into this variable called posts in the Redux store. And over here, um, we will be then be mapping because it's going to be an array of posts. We're going to be mapping them and displaying each individual post. We'll be displaying uh, their name and and the actual text that we have in our JSON. Okay, so the first thing I did was I created a new slice or a new section in our Redux store called Post. Just to give you, just to jog your memory, in the auth slice we have this initial state that we have user, and I also added a new variable called owner, just so that we could on when the user visits the Q app, we have all the information that we need in order to go fetch those posts. And part of the information that we need is we need to make a call to the to QDN and retrieve all the posts with the identifier of the first 5 digits of our app's address, first 5 characters, plus the app's name. In my case, it's going to be I can't remember the first 5 characters of the address, but the rest of it is going to be Qorbit. So let's say, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Qorbit, or whatever your first 5 characters of your address are. So over here, we'll get to that later. So the new post section of the Redux store is going to contain an array of posts, and also I call it a map. It's not going to be really a map. Just going to be pretty much an object with key value pairs. So the key is going to be the post ID and post identifier, and the value is going to be the everything pertaining to that individual post. So name, text, uh, created, updated, which are dates. Version is another field, right? That we use. Uh, okay, and also we have two actions. So one to insert posts into this post array, and another one to insert posts into this object. Okay, so going back to home, let's go in order. Okay, so we start off here. This unique app ID is, like I told you, here I should write it over here, pretty much equals, here, write it down. This equals, like we talked about in the other video, it's going to be address first 5 characters plus app name. So in my case, it's going to be, wait, let's go check. Let's do this properly. Uh, 4, 5. It's going to be this plus, oh, let's just put in one. Qorbit. Okay, it's going to be that. Let's put this in comments as a comment. All right, that's going to be our unique app ID, and which we need in order to know what to fetch. Okay. So here, let's go to this post function that I created. Okay. Okay. So, all right. So here we have a new quarter request, which is called search QDN resources. So this is going to be one that you're going to use often in order to fetch whatever from QDN. So this is the action. The service that we were using in order to publish posts is the service blog post. So we're gonna have to use that. The query is gonna be our unique app ID underscore post underscore. Because okay, let's just remind ourselves why that's the case. So if we go back to home, um, and in our handle post, the function that we use to create a resource, the post resource. If you check our identifier, how we created it was we have the pretty much the app's name underscore post underscore. So all this is fixed. This is going to be the same for everybody that comes into our application and posts a post, creates a post. Uh, this will be different for every user, and also this will be different for every user for every post. But we want to be able to get everything up to this point, right? We don't care which we're displaying them all, so we don't care which user has published them. Okay, so that's what we have to query for. So over here, that's what we have. So we put this in this field called query. We want the metadata, so we're going to put true. And the reason for it is that we would like to have the description field, the description metadata, in order to give like a preview until the actual data comes in. I'm going to put a limit of 20, and the offset is going to start at what I have here. What I put here is in that array of posts that I showed you in the post slice. Right now it starts. There's nothing in it, so the length is going to be 0. So the offset is going to start at 0. But let's say you fetch 20, and we'll do this in a future video, but we'll have automatic pagination as they scroll. But let's say they get at the end of the list and it fetches the next 20. Well, we need to know um, the offs. We need to know at what point are we going to start the next fetch. So okay, let's give you an example. At first, it's going to start at 0, right? So it's going to go. It's going to start. The offset is going to be 0, and it's going to fetch the first 20. The second round the offset is going to be 20 because the length, the array is going to contain 20 items. So the length is going to be 20. So the offset is going to be at 20, and it's still going to and it's still going to fetch 20, but it's going to start at 20. So it's going to be post from index 20 all the way till 40, till 39, right? So yeah, so that's how it works. So we're doing this for future pagination. We're not going to do pagination in this video, but we're setting it up. Okay, exclude block, yes, because in a future video, we're going to allow the users to block other users' content, a name. So we do not want to fetch content from those blocked users. So we're going to put true. And reverse true because we want to be fetching the latest posts. And that's basically it. Now, that's the most important thing for you to know what this does. Now, what I do is, the first thing I do is whatever's returned to me, which will be an array, Here, actually, we could go to the API, cordo.dev/doc/API, and we'll go here to search. No, no, search. It's not that one. Search QDN resources, and here it'll give an example of a response. Okay, so it's an array. Okay, let's go back to our code. All right, so what I do is I map through the responses through each resource, and I transform it into a smaller object, and I just put the things that I need. So in this case, description, which is coming from the metadata field. You'll see it here. Do I have it here? Here, metadata. So metadata is an object, and so so in order to have access to description, you have to go metadata.description. Okay. Um, so create and update it. I know we didn't put those values in, but it's done automatically every time you create a resource. So they'll be available. And then the name of the publisher, I used, I mean, you could put the name here too. That's probably better, but I like putting user. And identifier, I just switch it to ID. I find it's cleaner and smaller and easier. And then I have this function upsert post, which is coming from this auth slice over here. Sorry, not auth slice, post slice. Upsert post, which I said earlier, just inserts the new posts into this array. Right. Okay, so after I insert all the posts into that posts array, what I do is I loop through each of these items, and I see if I should go fetch that JSON I was talking about, because now we're just getting the metadata. But for each one of these, we have to now go fetch that our actual resource. Our actual resource is data. And the data could be anything, like it depends on what you publish. You could have published a video, an image, or whatever. We published a JSON, which includes the text and the version field, right? So we're gonna loop through that, and I have this check and update posts, uh, simply because I'm gonna be fetching that JSON and storing it over here in this hash map. Okay, but every time I switch, every time let's say I have multiple pages. Now I only have home, but let's say I have I don't know, an about page. I go to the about page, and I come back uh, to the uh, to the main page. I will not be refetching the post that I already saw. I have it stored in the Redux store, which is a memory, and it's going to be held. The JSONs are going to be held in this hash map post, right? But I will still be fetching the posts because that's just metadata. It's really quickly to see. And the reason for it is there might have been an update. And so the items in the post will have that field updated, right? And so what this function does, check and update post, it's going to see if there was any update done. If there is, this thing will return true, should fetch, and I refetch the JSON to have the new data. In any case, let's go. You guys could take a look further into this. I'm gonna go into this handle post get post. So this is where we get the actual resource. In our case, JSON. So wait, I have it get resource. So I have it here, and we're gonna be using another Quartal request. And this one's going to be called fetch QDN resource to get the actual data. So like I said, if you published a video, you're going to be fetching now the actual video. If you're fetching a JSON, like in our case, we're going to be actually fetching the JSON. So this response will be a JSON. And what I do, so wait, let's go check where get resources is executed. Let's start from the beginning. So it might be confusing for you. Okay, so let's redo this. Okay, so we're getting the let's say the first 20 posts in metadata form. or in just data about that resource, and included into that we have metadata. So for each one, I'm just making it simpler on myself, restructuring it, and then for each one, I'm also fetching the actual JSON through and have this function handle get posts. We go there, handle get posts. So like I was saying, we have um, we have this function that will actually go get the JSON, and when it's returned, we're going to be adding it to that object over here in the Redux store hash map posts. Okay, so let's go see how we get that JSON. So in here, get resource. We go over here. And so what we're ultimately doing is we're using another Cordal request called fetch QDN resource. And this, depending on, this will get the actual data of what you published. You know that, remember we published this time through a base64, but you're able to also publish an actual file object. Well, we're fetching that. So if you had published a video, you'll be getting the video. If you're fetching a JSON, in our case, we'll be getting a JSON. All right, so we get the JSON over here, represented as response data, and what I have here is called check structure, because this is decentralized, right? Meaning that anybody could publish a blog post on under using the same identifier structure as we did. So for example, let's say some spammer decides, okay, I'm gonna every minute I'm gonna create a blog post, uh, a resource with a service blog post, and also I'm gonna put the identifier um, as the one that we have. So where is it? Over here. So our unique ID is, what do we call it? It's this thing, right? So they could just put that underscore post underscore or whatever. They could put anything as an identifier. Well, we're going to be getting that data. And so let's say right now we have two fields in that data, right? We have text and we have version. But let's say he puts text as well, but instead of putting a string, he puts like an array or something. That's going to break my application. So what I have to do is I have to validate everything that I get. So it's really, we only have two fields in that JSON, so it's not too hard to validate it. So what I have here is I'm checking if there is a version. If there's no version field, then I'm saying, oh, already this is not the right data. If I don't have a text field, well, it's not the right data. But if I do have a text field, but it's not a string, or it's an array instead, well, then it's false. It's not valid. And so now I know that this data is not valid, and you could either not show it, you could show it but tell the user, hey, if you enter in here, it might the app the app might give you an error or whatever. So it's really good to validate all the incoming data. Okay, and so now, okay, so that's basically it. Let's go back to home. And over here, well now, okay, so let's showcase this. What do we have? Okay. All right, so let's go to our Redux and see what actually happened. Okay. Okay, so let's go here. Should be this one. Okay. So first thing that happened was we set our address, public key, and name. So we have in the auth subsection of the Redux store. So that's the first thing that happened. And the second thing that happened was that we insert those posts that we got. So for example, we have two posts right now in this application. And so we insert it into this post array, like I talked earlier. And afterwards, we went and fetched the each individual post. We fetched its data. In our case, it's a JSON. So if you go here, um, we have add to hash maps. That's where we're adding the actual content of our JSON. So we have here text and version. So at the end of the day, this is how our store looks like. We have an array of posts, and we also have our object with all with the do posts with all its data. Okay. So what happens is when we're mapping through the array of posts, I go looking for that post in the hash map because it's in the this hash map posts object that I have the full data. So I have the text and the version, I have everything. So so at first it won't have it, right? So if you reload the page, at first you'll have the array of posts and you'll just have the metadata, correct? And then after when the actual data comes in from the JSON, it's going to re-render this component, and then you'll have access. Then it'll actually exist. This is existing post object, and it'll replace the information that you're actually rendering. Okay. Actually, what I could be doing is I just realized is over here. Uh, what I could be doing is because I have the description, right? So I'll put this as a preview and oh wait, I'm doing it in reverse. My bad. I'm doing it in reverse. Here, I'll try this because this is the more important one. This is the full text. But if it doesn't exist, then it'll go and show the description instead. Okay. All right. All right. So let's recap on the most important thing. Is I think we looked we in this video we used three new um, Quartal requests. The first one being is the search. Actually, we know we did two. We did two. The first one is the search QDN resources. This will get the information about your resource that you publish. So in here you'll get the name under which it was published, when it was published with the field created, when it was updated, the service. In this case, it's blog post, and all the metadata, so title, description, the tags, the category, and all that. And then afterwards, when you get all that data, you still have to get the actual JSON in our case. And in order to do that, what you use is fetch QDN resource, which now you're able to get because you have the ID that you got from this one over here by searching from it, because every one of these has an ID, has an identifier, because that's all you need in order to get the actual JSON resource. You need the name, the service, and the identifier. So you have you get those two from each item in that post array. And then once you get the JSON, well then you store it, and we're storing it in that hash map object, and then you could display it. So it's as easy as that. And then we get this functionality. Okay. It's to be honest, it was a bit hard explaining this. But if you have any concrete questions, just let me know, and I either will message you, reply to you directly, or just maybe if a lot of people have similar questions, I'll just make another video and explain that. Okay. So the next video I think will be on either getting avatars, because now our avatars we don't have them. So that might be a good exercise. Maybe you could try it out, because it will be a couple days until I upload that video. And After that, maybe we'll be doing blocking user content if the user wants to block their content. Okay, thank you, and I look forward to the next video.